Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
Who are the participants in the conspiracy? And so, people can theorize a lot about these things and do that. But like, if I theorize about the Kennedy administration and I say Kennedy assassination, and I say these CIA officers were involved, I mean, I'll tell you 3 or 4 names, and I'll tell you what they were doing and how it fit into the ambush of the president on November 22nd. I don't see a causal chain of events or network of people acting against Nixon in that same way. So maybe it's there, but I don't see the proof, the evidence of it.
Okay, so just like to take this up to the present day,
Sure.
like as someone who has covered the sort of this world of intelligence and how it interacts with domestic politics, global spycraft and assassination, post church committee. There's this like the CIA has undergone like a number of rebrands, even in just the last 20 years. I mean, like they've undergone a rebrand after the Iraq War intelligence debacle. They've tried to change their image over and over again. So like, but what is your assessment of the role of the CIA as it currently exists in the American government versus the way they were behaving in the 70s at the height of the Nixon administration?
I mean, I think it's pretty similar. Structurally, the CIA is an extremely important power center within the U.S. government. It's one of the big 6 intelligence agencies. If you take the big 6 intelligence agencies, which are CIA, NSA, FBI, NRO, National Reconnaissance Organization, and NGA, National Geospatial Agency, those 6 agencies have a combined budget of about $50 billion. Okay. And they have a combined workforce of about 50,000 people. Okay. And these are some of the smartest, most technologically capable people in the government. They are a power sector in the U.S. government. And, their credibility in the political sphere has been vastly diminished, especially by President Trump, who has attacked them as the deep state. And the intelligence community, the CIA, they've lost a lot of cachet over the years because of their many debacles, from Iran-Contra to the war on terror to the torture regime and all of that. But they remain strong. I think of the impeachment of Trump over the Ukraine power play when he put the arm on Zelensky. I mean, I see that as a CIA project. The whistleblower was from the CIA, and that was, their best shot at getting rid of a guy who they regard as a threat to U.S. national security. It didn't work because their invocations of national security have no purchase with Republican senators. People say that's not a matter of national security, that the president did that. That's just politics. And so, they don't have the credibility to prevail in the way that they might have, say, after 9/11, when they were able to, impose an agenda secretly on the national security sector. So CIA is still very strong. Ironically, the CIA takes a big hit in Watergate and takes a big hit in the mid 1970s. A lot of these, dubious activities are exposed, but they recovered. With Reagan, they got their budgets back, they got their authority back, and then after 9/11, same thing. They got budget and authority. So the CIA has survived many hits, and is still very strong in the U.S. government, no question.
Matt and Felix, let me kind of open up to you guys. Do you have any questions for Jefferson or comments on our discussion so far?
Does that make sense to you in terms of like what's going on today? I mean, I see CIA leadership is hostile to Trump. They think he's in bed with foreigners. They might have overstated that, probably overstated Trump's competence in cutting deals with foreign intelligence agencies, but there was some smoke there. But the thing I wonder about is, there's pro-Trump people at the CIA, and Trump gets back in, he could get control of the CIA. Instead of having a hostile relationship with him, he might have a good relationship with him, and then we'd really be in trouble. So
yeah. I do have like a little bit of a question that
sure.
Maybe it dovetails a bit with that. On our previous episode, we were kind of talking about future outcomes in American politics.
Yeah.
And everyone loves these very fantastical scenarios. A second American Civil War, apocalypse, nuclear fallout, all that type of shit.
Uh-huh.
But, the thing we feel most comfortable predicting is, a form of super federalism. That the federal government is less and less important, less and less powerful. The states sort of run their own foreign policy depending on their size and their economy. The Great American Divorce.
Yeah, yeah.
If we go in that direction, which it
Right,
seems we kind of are,
right.
what do you see becoming of the CIA? Do you see it becoming
Well,
like kind of its own actor?
that's a very good question. I don't think we know. I mean, you do see the country sort of seceding into a red league and a blue league,
Mm-hmm.
and that might take, we might have devolution in that type of way.
Ding, ding, ding. There's the word for the week or the word of the month on Chapo, de-evolution.
Yeah, but the question of national defense and standing armies, and who do those forces represent, and those forces are being drawn into the political struggle. They're trying to avoid it, but they may be drawn into it and forced, or decide to become the arbiter of political disputes. So I don't know. I would say another thing that I've taken from Ed Snowden and Bart Gellman is this idea of turnkey autocracy. You have this very powerful surveillance apparatus. I think Trump's charges that it had engaged in spying on him were overblown and not true, but they could have. It is a very powerful apparatus. It can pick up on any one of us. If the National Security Agency went to Google tomorrow and said, "We want to see Morley's email," they'd have it within the hour, right? Legal.
Yeah.
They would have it legally within the hour. So,
And yeah, the one telecom that ever resisted that got ripped apart.
yeah,
West
no.
Communications.
And so, if Trump's in power and has a cooperative CIA apparatus, he'll turn that key. And I don't think people have thought about that. I don't even think people at the CIA have thought about that, because they assume that they're going to get rid of this guy and they're going to win the power struggle against him. I'm not sure they are.
I mean, yeah, it's weird kind of to talk about precedents and all that, because as always with the CIA, on one hand you do have the horrible thing is already happening, right? Like everything that they've already done. And I mean, now specifically I'm kind of thinking about Assange, but it's always the next guys doing something horrible with them and going, don't elect the next guy because he's going to have this weapon that I'm building for him.
Right. Yeah. So, it's the contradiction of a clandestine service in an open society. And, I don't think it's solvable. And so, I mean, most likely the divisions within the institution will reflect the divisions in the larger society. And the CIA has changed over the years, from the first director through Bill Casey. Casey was the last CIA director to have an Ivy League degree. And since then, the directors are coming from the Catholic schools. They're coming from Georgetown, and the proportion of, say, Mormons in the CIA and Greek Americans, small cohesive ethnic networks is very strong. And so, where the CIA will go, we don't know. All the CIA guys, Brennan and all those guys, they tell the story of how offended they were on the first day of, when Trump came and gave the campaign speech in front of their wall and all of that. And they were all offended and blasted him for that. But I've talked to people who were at that meeting, and they said there were a lot of people in there cheering Trump, and there are a lot of pro-Trump people in the CIA. So, control of the CIA in this, when you have this authoritarian movement trying to take over the government, I think that's a common issue.
That is an interesting point, because it's like you would figure that a lot of people in the CIA, like Special Activities Division or the guys still running torture, you have a lot of like ex-military, former Rangers or SEALs, and gun to my head, I'm saying like 70-80% Trump voters. But then you have the Democratic class of 2018, all the Abby Spanbergers, and they're leaning blue.
Right.
I mean, maybe loath as we are to predict any optimistic outcome, maybe they're so crippled by the culture war that the rest of us are preoccupied with, that they can't unleash on everyone else.
Well, the CIA is a very canny organization, which has a way of adjusting itself to, political ignoring political realities because, like they say, presidents come and go, and we don't. They can outlast any president. That's how they feel. That's in their organizational DNA. Liberal, conservative. It's like whatever this president screws up, we'll be around after he's gone. And so, but that may not be true. One thing that's happened because of all these failures is they don't have a lot of credibility, and they have less political capital to call on, and fewer defenders in Washington. Dick Helms could count on the support of 99 senators, from his buddy Eugene McCarthy on the left to his buddy Dick Russell on the right. No CIA director has anything like that. Now a CIA director is much more of a factional power player in a very fractionalized situation.
Jefferson, maybe you'll just permit this slight digression on my
Sure.
half here, but I bring it up only because I watched all 3 movies on the airplane back from France the other day. Have you seen the Jason Bourne movies of the sort of like aughts, the aught era of the 21st century?
I saw one of them. I forget which one.
Okay. Well, I mean, I bring it up because I was interested in watching these movies, and they're all very fun. But like the first one came out in 2002. And it was like, and the movies, like, they all deal with it based on the Robert Ludlum books, deal with, like, basically like brainwashed wetworks agents and this kind of global security surveillance panopticon. But the first movie is directed by a guy named Doug Liman, who's mostly does, and I don't use this term pejoratively at all, mostly makes kind of fun, dumb guy movies.
Uh-huh.
And the first one is mostly a fun, dumb guy movie. The second 2 are directed by Paul Greengrass, who directed United 93, and he brings this real kind of like verite, gritty realism to it. And I'm just like, but the second one comes out in 2004, and there's a line in it where an analyst says, well, it's not a slam dunk, clearly like referencing the Bush Iraq intelligence things. And like they get much darker and grittier,
Yes.
and like more realistic and more highly praised. And it's like a very on the surface, I would say like a very nasty view of the Central Intelligence Agency, because there's all these like evil guys there doing these secret assassination programs and killing innocent people. But the whole plot of the second and third movies are about Jason Bourne trying to basically apologize for all the people he killed as a brainwashed assassin for the CIA. And I just can't help but like, and it's so much about like, about how the good people in the CIA need to take it back from the bad people that are doing domestic surveillance and assassination. And I'm just wondering, like, it's just like, just in terms of like how the CIA outlasts and mutates after each dramatic atrocity and fuck up that becomes public fodder. I mean, I'm not saying the Jason Bourne movies are a CIA intelligence operation in themselves. I don't have evidence of that. I'm merely suggesting it. You're the journalist. Maybe you could look into that.
No, I mean, Hollywood is good at picking up on what resonates in the culture, and what's going to pull people in and grip them. And so, this very cynical view of the CIA, I mean, really is the norm in movies. Think of In the Line of Fire, the Clint Eastwood movie.
John Malkovich is the former, the guy who's the assassin,
renegade CIA assassin. And it's like, and this speaks to, people think, that's what they're all about. They're out of control, and so those movies do echo, I think, a kind of a consensus that has a very, some would say cynical, others would say realistic view of what these things are about. But they also glamorize it totally.
It's a cynical view, but like that, I think if there is an ideological element to here, I think it works so convincingly because it presents this cynical view. But then the triumph of the movie is about the good people in the CIA, not just being like, we shouldn't have a CIA. It's just Joan Allen and Julia Stiles need to be in charge of it. Put the ladies in charge.
Right. Yeah. The benevolent Americans. Yeah. Put the ladies in charge. That's definitely a CIA cultural offensive now. Women hold like 6 of the top 10 positions in the agency, and they spend a lot of time promoting and sort of pinkwashing this. So that's the latest cultural offensive for the CIA.
I'm assuming that you saw the CIA ad they did where they show an analyst and she talks about overcoming ADHD and imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I saw they had a panel the other day at NSA on enhancing neurodiversity in the NSA workforce. So Yeah.
I thought that's what MK Ultra was for.
Well, it's this very instrumental view of science, which is, well, you use whatever tools you have. Maybe, autistic people can have these impressive powers of perception and mental organization. So maybe you do want some of them around. They can see some patterns that nobody else would see, like they as an organization, they are at the cutting edge of, like understanding how to manipulate behavior. That's their business.
Jefferson Morley, I think we'll wrap it up there. The book is Scorpions Dance, The President, the Spy Master, and Watergate. In stores now. And if people would like to read more of your stuff or find out more, where should they, do you have a website, or where should they go to find more Jefferson Morley?
They should visit my website, JFK Facts, which is about the JFK assassination, but also a lot about Watergate now because of those connections. And I'm on Twitter at Jefferson Morley. And you can buy my books at jeffersonmorleybooks.com. I should say, too, that Scorpions Dance is available in an excellent audiobook, if that's how you like to consume your espionage, and also as a Kindle. So you can get it in any format.
Once again, the author, Jefferson Morley, the book, Scorpions Dance. Jefferson, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right.